My name is Jamin Gurker. I'm your first friend in Alaska, and I'm an associate real estate broker in South Central Alaska. And today we're going to be talking about how the heck you adjust to the Alaskan winters after you move up here and you've lived in the South. I know a lot of people who do move up here. They actually do come from the South or from a climate where they're not necessarily used to the winter. So we're going to be giving you some tips and best practices today to kind of help you in that first winter make that adjustment. Before we do that though, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. It really does help the channel, and let's go and jump into it. Now, these tips that I'm going to be giving you, they are really in no particular order, and I know some of them may or may not be realistic, but I'm just going to put them out there as best practice. Now, best practice number one is getting up here around the summer or the fall time so you can kind of slowly acclimate to the weather getting colder with the changing of the seasons. Now, if you can't do that and you just have to come up in January, February, like straight from Florida or somewhere like that, that just kind of is what it is. I'm just saying it's usually just best practice if you can get here in the summer and then slowly acclimate. When I moved up here, as an adult, I got up here and it was in the summertime, like around July or so. I was coming from Texas and it still felt cold around that time. So I needed to acclimate even though it was only the summertime. So if you're coming straight up from the South and it is warm where you're at and you're coming up here during the wintertime, that's going to be a bit of a shock. So try to ease into it if you can. Next thing I would say is, if at all possible, try to find somewhere where you live where either renting or buying something where you're going to have that direct sunlight. Now, and in some parts, just the local topography, if the direct sunlight is not getting to you, it's going to be a little bit colder. There are some areas where just the mountains in that specific little area block the sun from getting direct sunlight on a specific area during the summertime, because in Alaska, the sun doesn't really come up and over. It just kind of goes around the horizon. So it's not really this up and over thing. It's just kind of around the horizon. And that's, that's definitely something you need to keep in mind during the wintertime if you're coming up here. If you're also trying to look at the local topography, if it is a really low-lying area, like it's down in a riverbed, it's probably going to be significantly colder than it's going to be in the rest of the immediate area. Now, if that's okay with you, sure, it just kind of is what it is. That's perfectly fine. But just gotta know what you're getting into. All right, the third tip I'm going to give you is make warm beverages your friend. And I mean, I personally prefer just like tea myself, just because, less caffeine and all that. I know I'm a teetotaler, but for me, it's warm, and also I'm not worried about too much caffeine intake and throwing off my sleep schedule and everything else. Fourth thing you can do to really help yourself, like give yourself a chance in your first winter up here, is go and invest in some actual quality gear that's going to keep you warm. And what I mean by this is, number one, avoid cotton. Okay, if we're actually serious about cold and it's not just, a nice sweater or whatever, you're actually needing to stay warm, avoid cotton. I mean, go find stuff that is like merino wool, where it's a little bit more synthetic. It's a little bit more wool. It's like a combination of the two. It's kind of lightweight kind of wool and does a really good job in keeping you warm. Find layers and, really make sure that you have something that preferably has like heated gloves. You can get like some battery powered ones where they'll keep your hands really nice and toasty for like a good solid, I think it's like 3 to 5 hours, just depending what setting it is that you have it on. So make sure you invest in some good quality gear, because if you are just constantly cold and miserable up here, that's going to be pretty rough going adjusting here. Another really big point here, once we're on kind of the topic of clothing, is just make sure you really layer up. Okay, if you're concerned about being cold, a lot of people will go and buy like the big heavy like parka coat. I mean, it looks good and everything, but it doesn't keep you as warm as just a bunch of like small layers. So back when I was doing a lot of running during the winter time, I actually didn't have like too many layers, but just because I was running, and that in and of itself was kind of keeping me warm. But I definitely did want to be very cognizant of the layers that I had. So I'd have like a base layer of like that merino wool stuff I was talking about, some kind of synthetic Under Armour kind of shirt after that, and then have like some kind of hoodie or some kind of rain jacket over the top of it. And the layer system did actually keep me pretty warm regardless the temperature. I got to like -20, and that's about as cold as I wanted to run in, just because it was like, hey, if I slip and like hurt myself out here, not hit my head, and I'm unconscious, that's pretty bad if it's like -20 out there. So decide not to run too much colder than that, but you get the idea. Layer up is what I'm saying. All right, this next one is really going to help you out quite a bit. If you're in Alaska, you're probably thinking, well, I'm just going to turn like my apartment or my house thermostat up really high, and that's, I'm going to be just fine. I got news for you. First off, it's going to be expensive if you're in your own house. Even if you're not in your own house, the house is only going to get so hot, okay? If you're trying to turn your home into Texas, that is just not going to be a long-term viable option. It's just going to feel cooler throughout the house probably than what you're used to. But if you're someone who needs to feel warm, then definitely invest in some kind of electric blanket. Now, you might use this every night, like the first year or so, and after that, it just kind of goes away. I mean, that would kind of be my expectation. But if you need that electric blanket that first year, like, go right ahead. The only thing I would say, I did not have enough respect for the electric blanket first time I used it, so I got it, cranked it all the way up, and I was like, man, this isn't doing anything. And just went to sleep, and I woke up a couple hours later, and I was just dying from the heat because it just slowly gets you baked and slowly warms you up, and like, yeah, it's once it's got you, it's got you. So do make sure that you give some respect to the electric blanket when you're using it. All right, let's go and take a quick break here real quick. For those of you who've been watching for a bit, you know that I host a meetup every month for people who have recently moved up here. And it's just a good opportunity for us to get out and kind of talk and socialize a little bit. We do kind of simple stuff like just, I don't know, hiking or ice fishing, sledding, stuff like that. So if you're looking at moving up here and you're just looking for a group to kind of get plugged into and meet people, then that's going to be a great opportunity for you. Link for that, description section down below, and we'd love to see you once you're physically up here. Now, let's go and finish up today's video. One of the biggest things that you can do in order to really stay warm, even though it is super cold outside, is to have a good raincoat. And by a good raincoat, I'm talking about some kind of coat where it's almost like Gore-Tex and wind can't cut through it. If you have something like that, it forms what is called a hard shell around all the other layers that you have, and that is going to keep the heat in, and it's going to keep a lot of the wind out. And if you're able to put that over the top of all the layers, like, that is going to go a long way to keeping you nice and warm. All right, this next point, I'm going to say it, and then I'm going to give some qualifiers for it. If heat is the most important thing to you, losing a ton of weight is going to be problematic. It is easier to stay warm when you've got more layers on for yourself if you have more pounds. But I mean, obviously there's a huge trade-off between health benefits and all that good stuff. So if you're planning on getting in shape, losing a bunch of weight, don't let fear of, oh, it's going to feel colder, like, be something that stops you. Okay, like, you can just put another layer on. It's a lot easier to take that layer off too, by the way. So yeah, just know that if you get up here and you're wanting to lose a lot of weight, that's going to be kind of the price of success, I guess you could say. All right, last but not least, again, I cannot emphasize how not least this is. If you are in Alaska and you're trying to stay warm and you're coming up from the south, try to not be bald when you get here. Believe me, it's not fun, and you're gonna really invest in some good quality hats because yeah, this is not staying very warm at all when I go outside. I feel like I drop like 10 degrees or something if I step outside and I don't have a head covering. But this has been my video talking about how to try to adjust to the cold up here if you're coming in from the south. There's a lot of other videos I can do just talking about just getting integrated in the community and everything, but we're trying to focus just on the strictly survival stuff for this video. I sure hope it's been useful. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out and we'll talk with you then.